Hello and welcome to episode 545 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Join me as always is the glorious LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. Where the bloody hell have you been, mate?
There's been a fair bit going on, hey? There's gotten away with us podcasting, but we made a special effort to do a podcast tonight because we got a very, very special email. I dare say the most special email we've ever gotten doing the podcast, and we're going to start the podcast with that email.
Yes.
So the email was from a listener called Jack, and the subject was your podcast's impact on my life. And I'm going to read it out. There's going to be a couple of things I'll just I'll skip over a little bit so that Jack keeps his privacy. But I think a lot of the other stuff he'll be all right with us talking about. And instead of emailing you, Jack, we wanted to talk about it on the podcast because it was amazing reading your email. And I sent it to Andrew this afternoon, and we couldn't believe it. So here's the email. He says, I'm writing this missive. It's been 28 days since your last podcast, and it scares me that you might not do another one. But that's a me problem. It reflects positively on the quality of your production's consistency. And don't worry, we ain't ever stopping. Even if one of us dies, we're going to keep going.
Yeah, we've actually back recorded just a lot of random words. So if we ever need to do podcasts in the future, we can just join the words together.
We'll probably be able to. It'll be really easy to recreate me in AI, hey? It just
well, probably both of us now. We've got that much content out there.
Yeah. You just have a button that's just goes, that's what she said. And that's like 50% of what I say.
And then me just whinging about some bloke with a hat. Right, put a bow on it. That job's done.
Yeah. He said, I first stumbled upon your podcast in late 2019 after a shout out from Michael Adams on the pertinent Rugby League Digest podcast. What immediately struck me was Andrew and yourself, because he sent this email to me. What it struck me was Andrew and yourself earnestly love the game. Don't take yourselves too seriously. And then he puts, though freaky can go off, but I fucking love it, even when I don't agree, because it comes from a place of wanting to see the best our game has to offer. And then he writes, cough, the NRL era is a real era, cough. So I'm triggered.
So that means that on the times when we've disagreed and you've gone off, that means he's siding with me. So he's a smart man as well.
Well, I look, I'm never wrong. All right. That's the one thing I know. That and that I'm extremely humble. And he says, you're not sycophantic amongst yourselves, which is also refreshing. And then it gets a little bit more serious. He says, at the time, I was just starting my recovery from addiction to ice, which ravaged my 20s and left me facing jail time. The loss of all but 2 friends, no family contact, and completely starting again in nearly every aspect of my life, including the consumption of and my involvement in rugby league. I went from playing for 17 years through my entire childhood and early adulthood to absolutely nothing. Didn't watch a match apart from the Origins and Grand Finals for nearly 10 years, and from going to most games at Suncorp, regardless of who's playing, and watching every match religiously on TV. In the back of my mind, I always knew footy was there, but the Fox and Nine et al. Put me off getting back into it. Then I found the Rugby League Digest and Rugby League Reloaded, they're both podcasts by the doyen of rugby league football history, Tony Collins. Then I found you guys. After the first episode of Fergo and the Freak I immediately started watching every game again and going to local footy again. This single moment I attribute the most to my recovery. I was still in the danger zone, fighting a battle of addiction, so encompassing that even after 6 months of an inpatient facility, I was still fighting the demons telling me to use again. You guys helped me. You made me realize how special this sport is and what it really means to me. It helped me reach out to old footy friends that helped me and continue to be very important in my ongoing recovery to this day. It helped me reconnect with my father and my sister who had given up on me. And then he writes, with good reason, I can't stress how fucking awful I was. I'm prompted to write this email because today is 5 years since I last used hard drugs. He goes on to say he's got a really good, stable, well-paying employment, and he honestly wouldn't be here without us. Looking forward to the history episodes and your thoughts on the off-season dramas we've seen. Sorry if I've rambled, but I just love you guys so much and wanted you to know your work is appreciated. And, man, like, oh, I'm going to tear up again. The first time I read that, I was crying. And, you know, we do this podcast and you don't like, you hope everyone enjoys it and stuff, but you don't realize that sometimes you really touch people like we have with Jack. And, man.
No, I mean, that's the thing. You every time we hop on, we just see ourselves as just two blokes having a fucking yak about footy.
Yeah.
Like, as if that's going to be of any value to anyone. You know, you think, if you go 540 odd episodes, like, you know, we're just having a yak.
Yeah.
But when you hear something like that, it's, I don't know, for me, it was kind of, it's eye-opening, it's mind-blowing. You're just kind of speechless. You don't know, you don't have the words to describe, you know, how you feel about that, because it's, you don't often get to hear people give you feedback on a podcast.
No, we've talked about it where, like, on social media, you get pretty like instant feedback, whereas on the podcast you don't get a huge amount of feedback. And, you know, to hear that we've been able to be there for you, Jack, and, you know, 5 years sober today is just absolutely awesome, and it shows how strong you've been to pull yourself out of all of that and to stick with it. And, like, congratulations on that. And it sounds like you're doing well, and that, you know, you got things back on track. And, man, it's awesome if we played even the tiniest little part, even if it was, you know, through the roughest times where you just needed some noise in the background and you could listen to us talking about footy and, you know, get you back into the things you love again, which is always a big thing. I've heard people talk about when, you know, they're at their lowest ebb and they find it hard to enjoy things they used to enjoy. And so it's cool that you've been able to fall back in love with the game again. And, man, it's like when we got your email, like I couldn't believe it. And I sent it straight to Andrew and said, we've got to do a podcast tonight for you, Jack, because, you know, it's, you know, podcasting is a weirdly, like we've said, you don't get instant feedback. So in a way, you kind of are cut off from people that are listening. But to listeners, it's a very intimate format because you're listening to us. You've listened to us for 500 plus episodes or however many episodes people have listened to us to. And, you know, we want people to feel like they're part of it. We want people to feel like they're joining in the conversation. We've talked to friends that have listened to it and they say, oh, they argue with us when they listen to the podcast, but we're not there. And, you know, like I get phone calls from people that have listened to the podcast and they're like, oh, I was listening today about this and stuff. So to hear what you've been through, Jack, and to know that you're doing so well with your life now and that you got some level of comfort and help from just listening to us talk, mate, like, that's awesome. And I'm so glad that we could do that, be that little part of your life. And as I said, congratulations on 5 years. And, man, you just keep powering through life and keep going onwards and upwards because, like, you're worth it, man. And I'm sure that your life feels so much better right now through all the hard work you've done.
Hear. Very well said.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason we're recording tonight.
Yes. So there's a bit of an update. Like, Freaky might take some blame for this, but to be honest, the majority of the reason why we haven't recorded for nearly a month has been I've been ridiculously busy, and that's the majority of the reason for it. Freaky will claim that he was sick. He was just hungover most of the time.
I wasn't. Nah. What happened was, Andrew was working his ass off, and I knew that. And I knew that if he did get a chance to do a podcast, it was going to be at 11:30 at night. Well, in the meantime, I got shingles for like the 17th time since and it's just a coincidence, since I got the COVID jab. Never had shingles.
No, not COVID. Since you got connected to 5G.
Yeah. Nothing to do with that. It's just been a huge coincidence. It's amazing, right?
Coinky dinky.
Yeah. So the thing that it does for me is it makes me want to go to bed really early. I'm talking like 8 o'clock. So I'd be sitting there thinking, oh, maybe we should do a podcast and be asleep at 8:30, like gone. So that's why there hasn't been a podcast for the last month. But me and Andrew, we talked, what was it? It was less than a week ago, hey, where...
Yeah, it was just over a week ago, and we talked for nearly 4 hours.
Yeah, we talked for 4 hours.
Should have just pressed record and done an episode out of that.
We burnt at least half a good podcast in that talk, as we always do.
I would say that every single conversation we have that's not being recorded, our catchphrase, the one thing we say all the time is we're burning a good episode here.
Yeah.
In every conversation. But yeah, so... Some of the things that I've been working on, just so you know how nuts it has been. On the Rugby League Project website, we have put in all of the score lines for all of the reserve grade games played from 1908 to 1997 and all of the ladders and created all the teams. That's all there. And the work now begins on putting in the lineups and the scorers. We also put in all of the score lines for all of the Brisbane Rugby League Premiership from 1977 to 1987, as well as the preseason cup there and the Queensland State League in that time. So we've got to put the lineups in for that as well. Then we'll have things like the full first grade career of players like Mal Meninga, Wally Lewis, the full first grade coaching career of Wayne Bennett, things like that. So that's going to be insane. My publisher got in touch and wanted me to do an update for the book that I wrote, which the last edition was published in 2018. So I've just finished doing all of the updates for that.
Panthers heavy update.
Yeah. And I'm working on a second book as well. And also working on the Rugby League Project Annual. And I have a 9-to-5 job as well. I remember sleeping back in January. No, I'm doing all right. But yeah, I've just been pretty flat out. So that's what's been going on. But
and just to give people an update on what I've been doing, I wrote an article saying that Penrith were having a bias draw against them because they didn't have a single home game next year that went a little bit viral. And then I made a 1/6 scale blade, and that's it.
Well, I mean, that's pretty impressive, to be honest.
He is pretty fucking sick. He's got the glasses. He's got a vest. He's got a really cool vest.
Have you put it up on Instagram?
No, not yet. No. I haven't put it up on Instagram yet because I got the vest for him today.
Oh,
so
right.
He'll go up very soon.
Right.
So
well, I've got a response in mind already, so I'm waiting for it.
I don't even. You know what my response would be? I love Passenger 57. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
It's a good movie. It's a Wesley Snipes movie.
I've seen it advertised, but yeah, never watched it.
It's a really good movie. No. Although I have to say, with some of the movies that were in the 90s, like the premises at the time were really cool and it was really enjoyable and stuff. But like sometimes you watch those movies now and you're like, yeah, you couldn't do that now because people would be like, that's ridiculous. That'd never happen.
Yeah. But that's why we love watching those movies.
Yeah, true.
Con Air and the Die Hards and et cetera, et cetera.
Commando, where he had the gun that just had endless ammunition.
You know, one night here, I think it was about a month ago, just before we recorded the last episode, I think it was the day before.
Yeah.
I was sat down here to do some work.
Yeah.
And I had Foxtel open on my TV next to my computer here.
Yeah.
And I turned on the TV, and the movie that just started was Total Recall.
Oh, such a good movie.
The proper version.
Yeah.
Not the bastardized horseshit that they recreated later on. The recreation of Total Recall and RoboCop are legitimate hate crimes. And everyone involved in the recreation of both of those movies should be sent to straight to prison and do hard labor forever.
I've seen both of them, right? By the way, Sharon Stone in Total Recall, oh my God. But there's a point where she's like, she's going to kill him, and you're like, I can fix her. I can fix her.
Just let me talk to her.
Just let me. Oh, look. There's some things that I'm going to have to get used to, but we can work through it. But I don't. The Total Recall remake was it was like a completely different movie. It wasn't that good. But then the RoboCop remake, there were some good parts of it. Like the part where they show him what's left of him is just the creepiest thing ever. But yeah, doesn't hold a candle to the original RoboCop. Like RoboCop 1 and 2, I've never seen 3 because apparently it's terrible. But RoboCop 1 and 2 was just amazing. And I remember I'd seen it when it was on TV, and then I saw it, the R-rated version of it, which is just a gore fest. And the gore fest was like, holy crap, this is full on.
The thing though that makes those early 90s movies insane is the black humor that goes with it.
Yeah, yeah.
That really dark, nasty humor. That's what gets it. And yeah, I'm all here for that sort of humor. I'm a bit of a weirdo, but
I was telling Andrew there's a RoboCop game that came on sale. Did you end up getting it?
Not yet, no.
Okay, so I've been playing that recently, and it is just so super faithful to the RoboCop movie, and I think it's set like just after RoboCop 2, and that's all I'm going to say. It is super faithful. Like there's not one part of it that I've been playing so far where I've been like, oh, that's a bit weird. Like even down to like the TVs are the old 80s TVs, like the CTRs.
I love that.
Or CRTs. And like all of that sort of stuff, like cassettes and things like that. So it's like just perfect.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I am dead keen on getting that.
Yeah, yeah.
What else has been going on in the world of Formula One? Is that what we're doing now?
We're a Formula One podcast. Well,
Verstappen won the World Drivers' Championship.
Boring.
Everyone's surprised.
Yeah.
That Las Vegas race was boring.
Yep.
That track is dog shit.
It's crap.
Have you seen the track layout?
I've seen. I saw that. I think they didn't change it, did they?
It's still the upside down pig.
Yeah, it's just garbage, and it looks like garbage on TV. I only watched the.
I was going to say the problem with it is when the cars get on the main long straight.
Yeah.
It's too long because you can hear the cars hitting their limiter.
Yeah.
Like 400 meters before they have to put the brake on. So you can't overtake because every car is at the absolute fucking maximum. They can't go any faster.
Yeah.
It's killed the whole point of a straight.
I don't think it'll last very long. I think in 5 years or so it won't be there. It just looks terrible. So bad. Yeah. But yeah, in rugby league, not a huge amount has happened. Ben Hunt was shopped around to every single club that's ever existed, and some that have gone bust, and some.
Annandale had a cheeky look.
Yep. The Dirty Reds, the Glebe Dirty Reds, had some talks with him, secret ones, of course, because they're all secret talks, and he ended up signing with Brisbane, which was a massive, massive shock.
Because they were the only ones who put a bid on the table.
Hey?
Because they were the only ones who put a bid on the table.
That does become a bit of an issue when you've only got one offer. But
wasn't there a club that did that once before? Was that with Parramatta? Was it Parramatta when they were upping Gutherson's contract?
Yeah. There was no one else bidding, and they upped his contract to a ridiculous amount. Yeah. I think they did that with another player of theirs as well. I don't know if it was it wasn't Mitch Moses, it was someone else, but like they basically bid against themselves.
Yes. Smart strategy.
Good times. Worked out well for them.
Well done, everybody.
Yeah. But Ben Hunt, look, I don't know how much of an impact he's going to have. If they play him at hooker, he will be a bit of an upgrade, but and it's going to help them having a little bit more veteran leadership there. But I feel like Maguire is taking over a team with a lot of just crap going on around them, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them to overcome rather than holes in their football team that have been filled by Ben Hunt, Do
you know how long Ben Hunt got signed for? Was it just 1 year?
I feel like I saw somewhere where it's 2 years.
I wouldn't be surprised if this year he's going to be playing at 5'8", and the reason for that is Maguire will just say, "Okay, Ezra, you've gone and done a bad thing. So what we're going to do is you're going to get suspended for whatever it is, and for the rest of the year, you're going to earn your keep in reserve in lower grades, and you're going to learn a bit of respect and about what's required of you as a first grade footballer, not just at this club but in this game."
Well, did you see he's doing the whole "I'm a tradie now" thing?
Yeah, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah. He's a tradie.
Right.
Yeah. He's got to learn what it's like to be a regular person. So now he's a tradie.
Yeah, on several $100,000 a year.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it?
That's not how it works, fella. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, and then next year they'd probably play, if he's there for next year, play him out off the bench as a backup hooker option. I wouldn't be having him starting at hooker anymore. And I'm hesitant about having him actually at hooker at this age, not because I don't think he can handle it, but he's still not cheap. Even if he's on $600,000-$700,000 a year, still not cheap. And he's getting older. You kind of want to look after that a little bit. So
the other thing for me is too, like it's a Broncos team that's pretty young still, and in 2 years from now, like say if you look at it and say Reynolds and Hunt are their halves, or Reynolds and Hunt are the halfback and hooker, like are they going to be there in 2 years' time? Because this team is still going to be in their window in 2 years' time, and I don't know. I just think the idea of it's two key positions, and especially for two players that they haven't got the resume. It's not like getting an Appy Coruscant where this guy knows how to win a premiership. And I'm not saying they're not really good players, because they are. But I don't know. It's a different scenario in that regard.
Yeah. My other thing too, and I said this on Twitter, is that they've got to be the oldest halves pairing in rugby league history, because Ben Hunt's been around since 1991, and Adam Reynolds' limbs have about as many ailments as an 87-year-old.
It's, I can't think of too many. If they played side by side, there wouldn't be too many older halves combinations.
Not in recent memory, no.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't see it as a bad signing, but no, because I think it is designed entirely to cover Ezra Mam.
Yeah.
It's more about they need to have a backup plan in place starting now, but it's got to be in place for next year to start that transition.
Yeah.
And it's got to be for one halfback. You can't have both those guys on your book in 3 years' time.
No. Like even now, we've talked about Reynolds. He's fantastic when he's playing, but he's never there when you need him. He just always gets injured when it matters, unfortunately.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing too. you don't really ideally want to have a halfback who's a rookie that you just go, okay, we've just had these two like elite halfbacks at the club and they've just retired. It's your turn now, kid.
Yeah.
You kind of want to avoid that. It'd be interesting to see what they do, but it's a pretty good problem to have at this stage.
Yeah, look, I'd love to know how they sorted it out under the salary cap too, because they didn't really lose anyone.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Ezra Mam suspension is they get some sort of credit back for that to help make it fit. And
I think they put that to the NRL, and the NRL already said no.
Well, the other one was Hunt still under contract at the Dragons for next year?
I think that he was given a release, a full release. I think that they sort of come to that sort of agreement. So there shouldn't be any hangover money that the Dragons have to pay.
I assume then he's taken a significant pay cut.
He must have.
He was signing, didn't he sign for just over $1 million a year last time his Dragons
with the Dragons, yeah. I don't know if he was on $1 million because he had the first contract, he was definitely $1 million. And the second contract for the Dragons, I don't know if it would have been the same amount, but I mean, it wouldn't have been a massive pay cut he would have taken if he did take one. So, like, he'd be all right for money, but still, I don't know. It just seems a bit weird to me.
Yeah. But that's something for the Broncos, something to work on.
Yeah.
The Tigers have been busy on the signing market.
Yeah, they got Terrell May, who's a good signing.
Yeah, got him for 3 years.
Yep.
A good signing and a young player.
Yeah. He's going to be – he'll be good until they have to sack him. Nah, that's been silly. The sins of his brothers aren't his sins. But, it's a good signing. He was very consistent for the Roosters last year. I don't know why the Roosters wanted rid of him. It seems a bit strange, but they made that decision, and it's a great signing for the West Tigers. There are a few clubs that were going after him. Yeah. I think Bill Gould had 17 secret meetings with him that nobody knew about. That's breaking news here, by the way. And so they're putting together an all right little squad now, the West Tigers. And we were talking about it the other day in the podcast we didn't record.
Yes.
And we kind of both feel like they're not going to be as bad as they've been the last few years, which that's pretty simple to not be that bad. But like they're probably in that, I don't know, about 10th place, I think we said, didn't we?
If they can get off to a decent start and not have too many injuries, they now finally have like decent depth in the backs. They're still a bit light on in forwards.
Yeah.
Especially in the front row. They've got enough there. The front row has more depth this year than what it had the last 2 years. And it's not just depth, but good depth, like genuine NRL quality depth, not sort of relying on untested lower graders, that sort of thing. So that is very helpful. It's building up nicely. There's been some very good signings. I can't think they've got much cash left in the cap at this stage. They'll be looking to. That's probably why they're looking to get rid of John Bateman.
Yeah, I think the Seagulls today closed the door on getting him on board. So that's one less option. I don't know why the Seagulls would have wanted him, but they
would have wanted him because he played for the Tigers.
Yeah, that seems to be their only requirement.
That's it.
But yeah, if I think that they're just going to have to eat his salary. I would rather them eat his salary and say go away.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board. Even if the club said, you know what, we're going to pay out all the money that we owe you on the contract. We don't care what you do. Just don't come anywhere near this club.
Yeah. If possible,
here's your cash.
Just stay in England. Just stay there. Just, I think that's what I would do. Because, look, it's not going to be, his salary cap figure is not going to be the make or break of whether they win a premiership next year or not. So just, eat the salary, get it off the books for 2026, and completely move on from that, and not have to have him as a distraction around the club, because he loves being a distraction for whatever reason. Don't know why.
I will say one thing. I'm on the NRL website looking at their NRL signings tracker, and they've got a list there of all of the players that are currently contracted to every single club.
Yeah.
And there's no John Bateman on the West Tigers one.
He's definitely still on their books.
Well, the NRL website says no, and I mean, they are the officials. So I'm going to say that they're finally gone.
Imagine
well
if it
done,
just
West
happened.
Tigers. The other big news, our favourite player, Clint Gutherson. He's gone to the Dragons.
Yeah, well, look, any time that you can have a player like Clint Gutherson, who has never won anything in his career, and he gets an injury, and you bring in a young dude who is amazing in his first few games at fullback, as soon as you can let him go to your local rival and then also get rid of Gutherson, the better. That's the way you do it. That's smart management.
The Dragons signing and gains and losses is a bit of a weird. It's a bit of a weird thing. Mm-hmm. So they've picked up Damien Cook, Valentine Holmes, Clint Gutherson, and Lachlan Ilias, and they've lost Zach Lomax, Jack Bird, Max Vanai, and Ben Hunt. It's a weird mix.
Yeah, look, it's a club that's just grabbing any talent that is willing to go there, because they've missed every single top of the line player or even mid-level player that has an upside, and so they're just grabbing what they can. And sometimes you got to do that because you're in a bad position, and they are in a bad position.
It looks a lot like the dumb shit the West Tigers were doing like several years ago. Mm-hmm. Parramatta, this is kind of the same. They've picked up Zach Lomax, Isaiah Longy, Dean Hawkins, Joash Papali, Jordan Samrani, Josh Adokar, and they've lost Blaze Talungi, Regan Campbell-Gillard, and Clint Gutherson. Yeah. They've probably done a little bit better than the Dragons, but it's still a bit... They don't have a fullback now.
Yeah, look, I think that they're doing the clean out they need to. They probably would have liked to have cleaned out a few more of the players in that team, but they probably can't afford it. But they had to wipe the slate clean. Unfortunately, we talked about the way that they locked into all those players at the absolute peak of their careers, having most of them have won like nothing at all, and it didn't work out. It was never going to work out. And, we saw the season they had last year, and, Jason Riles is coming in as the new coach, and he's just, he's getting rid of all the dead weight he can. Can't get rid of all of it, but it's a start. So we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't be surprised
if the Eels are on the market big time this time next year, and they're buying forwards everywhere, because the end of next season, they're going to have Bryce Cartwright, Dylan Brown, Hayes Dunster, Jermaine Joey Lussick, Joe Hengawi, Kelma Tuolungi, Luca Moretti, Ryan Madison, Sean Lane, Will Penasini, and Wirami Greg are all off contract at the end of next year.
I think Brown might be a player option, because I feel like he does
have a player option until 2031. But it means that he will be available to test the open market, so to speak, if he wants to at the end of next year. The rest, though, Madison's got a player option for 2026.
Mm-hmm. He should take that.
As does Lane and Penasini.
I'd still hold on to Lane, I think.
Lane is very handy. There's no doubt about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they let a lot of blokes just wander out and they start looking for not just some big name forwards, but also, if they're smart, bring through a bunch of juniors this year and try and get a lot of those guys up to speed and covering for a lot of these guys who are, their contracts are running out.
I'd be shocked if Brown could get a bigger contract at another NRL club unless the New Zealand Warriors decided that they wanted him as like their big star player, which I think that'd be a bad sign. And I don't think he's that sort of player. Like, he's a very good defensive player, but as far as attack goes, he's not the sort of guy that's going to guide your team around the field. So I'd be shocked if he didn't take up that player option with Parramatta.
He would probably get targeted heavily by the Dragons.
You reckon?
Yeah. Defensively solid 5'8".
Yeah,
that's what Flano loves, man.
Yeah.
So he'll chase that hard.
Man, that would
not saying he's good at landing them, because very rarely has he ever had a really good defensive 5'8", but he loves them.
Yeah.
He tries to turn them into them, and that obviously does not work. But yeah, he would chase. I reckon he would chase Dylan Brown hard. Whether Dylan Brown would go, there's another thing, but he'd be offered a sizable deal by the Dragons, I reckon.
Imagine Dylan Brown playing outside of Nathan Cleary. He would have to take a big pay cut, but he'd become a premiership winner.
He would.
I don't think he'd do it, but
no.
I've been waiting for somebody to do that. You know, a player, and I thought it might have been Hunt a couple of years ago. Just an older player that's still got, you know, some legs under them, going to Penrith on a really cheap deal and trying to jag a premiership, but we haven't seen it.
No, I must admit, I think though that's more of a credit to the Panthers going, no. We know what we want and know what we need. Yeah. We're not just going to let any old Johnny Come Lately stroll in here and just try and claim some of this glory for themselves with it. We've got too many people involved who deserve it more. And I think that's kind of the attitude they've got at the club.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Parramatta will likely be looking at 2025 as a year where they legit start pressing that reset button. So I'd be surprised if their focus is on like genuinely being successful this year. They're going to be looking at changing a lot of systems and then trying to do as much churn on that roster as possible in 12 months and then start work on the rebuild during that process and try and get back up into the top 8 for 2026.
Yeah, maybe get a few juniors come through 2025 and see how they go, or at least give them a taste of first grade. You know, that's always a good thing to do when you don't expect to be a contender. And, see where they go from there. It's going to be interesting to see how Riles handles it. Sometimes you get these coaches where in their first season, for whatever reason, they just bring in a new system and it just works and they get some solid results out of a team that's not that good. And it's a really good sign. But you never know. We've talked about this. No one knows what a coach is going to be like until they start coaching, because all of the dynamics that are in play. So, and it's going to be a rough start for Riles, but hopefully he has full control over who stays, who goes, because the people that have been there at Parramatta that have made those decisions previously have made the wrong ones.
Yes. Now, speaking of wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Salford.
Yeah. Well, look, they're in financial trouble again. They've asked for a forwarding of the payment from basically the TV rights from Super League. And I think they've asked for half of those to keep the club going forward and being prepared for next year for Super League. And it's a really bad situation because we saw a couple of months ago the London Broncos, who had just been relegated from Super League, basically in terrible financial situation. And now Salford's in a terrible financial situation. And the news come out today that Toulouse, who is in the championship, who's trying to get into Super League, need £250,000. It's just the financial setup over there it's impossible. It is absolutely impossible. It does not work. they spend too much money on players that they don't make that money. And so the whole league runs at a loss. And the only reason that any of the clubs stay afloat is because they're basically backed by rich people. And as soon as they're not backed by rich people, they're broke, like immediately.
Yeah.
So, and they don't care. No one's doing anything to change that. Not one thing. Their salary cap should be half of what it is. And they won't do that because then it's not in whoever's interest to do that. And they don't understand that the health of the worst teams in your competition is a huge sign towards the health of your overall competition. And they don't care. I used to get really fired up about it all. I used to, go through why it's terrible, why they need reforms and all that. And it gets to a point where you realize, they don't care. So why should I care?
Because they see it the same way they look at promotion and relegation, and that is every club that falls over is an opportunity for another club.
Yeah, and
they see that like they see it like it's a positive thing. Going, no, you've just killed a club, an entire region that was supporting rugby league, and lost them.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't be like that. There's an article on the BBC website about this, which just came out a day or two ago. It says here, the Salford Red Devils have been thrown a financial lifeline with their fellow Super League clubs agreeing to give them an advance payment on their share of 2025 distribution money. Doubts over gathering commercial revenue due to uncertainty over the future of the Salford Stadium have left the Red Devils with some gaps in their finances. And last week they requested help from the rest of the league. A meeting on Monday agreed to advance Salford money to bridge the gap while the stadium issue is sorted, with Salford City Council having approved a deal to purchase the ground they share with rugby union side Sale Sharks in September.
So since they moved from their old ground, and I can't remember the name of their old ground, but they moved into this new stadium, and ever since they've done that, it's just been a shit show. And it's just had this financial uncertainty over them the whole time for a club that had always had a financial uncertainty anyway.
Yes.
So, the whole time that I've known English Rugby League, Salford has had financial uncertainty until they were bought by a billionaire, and, that didn't even work out for them somehow. That's just how it's been for Salford. So, yeah, it's a terrible sign, and you got to wonder who's going to be the next club that's going to, fall on hard times, but nothing will come of it. There'll be no reforms, there'll be no changes, there'll be nothing, and because they don't want any changes over there, and so what can you do?
Well, now that they've got some cash, maybe they can buy a website.
They should have bought it to begin with, Andrew.
Yeah, stroke while the iron's hot, my friend.
Gonna need more than £500,000 on me, don't you?
Oh dear. What else has been going
on? That's pretty much it in rugby league. Well, there was some news that the Perth Rugby League team, the whole bid there is back on track now because the West Australia government decided to tip in a bunch of money there.
So now everyone's just realised that the only way to get an NRL expansion team is to bribe the NRL.
Pretty much. It'd be interesting to see, obviously a lot of that money will go into the operating costs and everything, but I wonder what the licensing fee, the official licensing fee is, because I didn't hear that being talked about when they made this announcement. But, it's good. It'd be good to have a team in Perth. Let's hope nothing goes wrong there. I was going to say,
imagine if people started a GoFundMe to raise the money to build their own team and just placed it in some random horrible place like Tamworth.
The
Tamworth Terriers.
Well, look, if you were, just say you were a billionaire and you went to the NRL and said, I'll give you $500 million for a team in Tamworth, I wonder if they would actually do it.
I reckon they would.
You reckon?
Yeah. Yeah, they would. They'd find a way to justify it. Oh, it'd be really good to link the Hunter the Hunter Newcastle region up with the Gold Coast region and have that team there. And there's a rich history in that region. you draw back to a competition that was played there in the 1910s that no one realised until they were told about it last week. That sort of thing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's interesting now that you know that's the way to getting your bid up. I'm wondering if other governments might start thinking, if we just bribe the NRL enough, they'll give us a team and we'll be set.
Look, you've got to give credit to Volandis that this is something we have never seen in rugby league before, where these governments are putting in giant bids for NRL teams, and like there's a lot of stuff we don't agree with that he has put in place, or he has put the people in place that have put things in place. But give him credit, he does make things happen. And you remember you and me used to have the discussions of like what sort of leader we would like to have running the game. We both basically settled on rugby league needs a dictator to be running it. Like we've had all of the other sorts of leaders, and what we thought we needed was a dictator. And at times we have been like saying, oh man, we regret that. But overall, you got to say he has made stuff happen because he is a dictator. So,
well, I mean, that's what dictators do, though, is they make things happen.
Yeah.
And not taking that away from him, but yeah, I think it's more, we should have refined it more at the time, is we need a dictator who knows what's best for rugby league. And that sometimes has gone amiss with Volandis, because I think sometimes when he's gone out and made a decision, it's been because he read about it in a newspaper somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's been where a lot of the I wish he wasn't a dictator in that sense has sort of come from. But when it comes to things like this, and also the Vegas thing, those have been really good things. The marketing had been really shit, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Watch real football or something like that and go, I mean, don't go to another country where they don't watch your sport and then shit on their game and then walk away. That's not how you promote it. I'm sorry. You don't do that. We did the same shit in fucking Adelaide, where they barely watch rugby league there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And went over there and said, watch the real footy. And going, don't just, that's stupid. Don't do that. But, well, we're finally starting to make some waves.
Yeah.
It's been good because he's eased up a bit on the whole let's bash every other state attitude. And realised that wasn't getting him very far. So I'm glad he's pulled away from doing that, because that was pretty docile behaviour.
Yeah, and look at that. He's managed to secure $1 billion worth of funding for 2 rugby league clubs, one in Perth, one in PNG. That is amazing. That really is amazing. And a lot of the other leaders we've had in our game would not have been able to have pulled that off at all.
No.
So
tell you what, I'll give him all the praises in the world if he can get the Ropes Creek team into the NRL.
Mate, Ropes Creek team, the fucking St. Mary Saints backs on to Ropes Creek. So all these Panthers players you see in the grand final and say, St. Mary Saints, St. Mary Saints. We've got a team. It's called the Penrith Panthers, mate.
Hell. When the Dragons are dominating, there's got to be one way to end this. I know. Let's take half their area and just give it to another team in the area and brought in the Sharks. Well, the way we're going at the moment, we're going to need Ropes Creek just to thin out that talent in that Penrith region.
Look, there's no doubt the Penrith region could support 2 NRL clubs. No doubt at all. We already do. We support more than 2 clubs.
Yeah, I mean you got a Penrith team in Penrith, and basically another one in, we're going to say Parramatta, maybe Campbelltown.
Well, you look at all the players.
It's got to be Campbelltown. We've got most of the Penrith players are coming over there now.
If you took all of the players we've lost over the last 5 years and put them in fucking, I don't know, Jamison Park, man, Jamison Park would be a finals team. It's all right. We'll just keep winning all the premierships. We talked about this the other night. How if they were going to win 3 premierships, they It's so hard to win 3 that once you get to 3, it's easier then to get to 5, because if you can win 3, you can win in 5's pretty easy from that point. You just got to keep a bunch of your players.
Well, you know by then too that the players are still committed to being that successful, like they haven't switched off.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing that's really hard to do once you get to, is not switching off. And there were signs that it may have happened a little bit this year, given that, you know, Melbourne were convincing minor premiers.
Mm-hmm.
But nah. When it mattered, they got the job done.
It's funny because I think that there will be, when it's all said and done, and we get some space between this Panthers team and like when it ends and everything, and we get a few years past it, I think people are going to look back and they're going to be like, oh, that team had, like, that group of players wasn't just like the athleticism was high, the technical side, the defense, all of that stuff. They ticked all of those boxes, but those group of players had something special on top of that too. As you say, the fact that they didn't remember when they lost to the Storm in 2000, what was it, 2020?
Mm-hmm.
When they lost to the Storm, and we were like, oh, will they be able to bounce back? And then they won their first premiership, and we were like, oh, will they still have the hunger after winning that first one? And they, like, you just had to watch last year's premiership win or this year's premiership win against the Storm. And they're animals. Like, they're absolute beasts out there in the biggest games of the year. And the drive is just unquestionable. And you don't get teams like this. There's been 3 of them ever as good as this. The Panthers, that South team from, what was it, the 20s? And the Dragons. You don't see this shit. And it takes a really special group to come together at the right time and have everything else in place, but then have that drive on top of it. And we're so lucky to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So
as I've been saying, like, I know a lot of people want to sit there and you know, be hateful and critical and all that because, you know, there's successful and tall poppy syndrome and sort of shit, but don't get too caught up in that and still take the time to appreciate what we've got there, because it's very rare that this happens.
Mm. And even when you see, like, their players go elsewhere, and, like, you see Crichton go to the Bulldogs and immediately makes them so much better. And everyone at the Bulldogs is like, this guy is something else. And then you get Api Coruscant goes to the worst team in comp in the Tigers, and you're like, well, he's just picking up a paycheck. And somehow is the best player on the field in the vast majority of their games, behind a beaten pack in the vast majority of their games. And you're like, he shouldn't be able to be this good in such a bad team.
Yeah.
And just seeing all these Panthers players go elsewhere and just be so good, and you realise that, like, man, these players were real special. And
it makes you wonder.
Mm.
I'll put this question to you,
because
it's often been said that when Melbourne Storm players go to other clubs, they're not as good.
Yeah.
Does this mean that Ivan Cleary is a better coach than Craig Bellamy?
I think what it shows is that, man, I mean, I think Ivan Cleary has his own markers for what he wants out of a player he recruits, right? Mm-hmm. And the Panthers system, and we've talked about it, it's just a numbers game. Like, it is going to spit out quality players no matter who the coach is there. Michael Jennings come out of the Panthers system when Matthew Elliott was the coach, okay? So whoever the coach is, like, there's going to be these quality players come out of that system no matter what, just because of the numbers. I think what you see with Craig Bellamy is he has the ability to look at an average first-grade player and simplify their game and get the absolute most out of that player in a narrow band of, I don't even know the word for it, but he just gives them a very simple job and he gets that out of them. And I think what you see when a player leaves the Storm is that they're bought as a star that is a more rounded player, and they're asked to do a more rounded role, and they don't have that in them. But Bellamy knows that, and that's why he asks them to do such a specific job. That's the way I look at it anyway.
That's fair. That's fair. I thought that was a question that hasn't actually been asked by anyone yet.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say they're two very different coaches.
Yeah.
So Bellamy's able to, he's almost like he's, I mean this in the kindest way possible. It's almost like he's an autistic coach.
In what way?
He knows precisely what he needs a player to do. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter which player he gets, he can make them do what he needs them to do, and it works. Mm. So he doesn't need a specific type of player. He just needs a player with the right attitude and the right work ethic. That's basically what he needs, and he will make the rest happen around them and get them doing the sort of jobs that he needs them to do, and just that's it, job done. We're sweet.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Ivan Cleary, he looks for specific skill sets in specific parts of the ground to complement his key playmakers around them, and his ability to identify those people. And he does it on the back of they've got to be good defenders first, and they've got to buy into that defensive mindset that they've got first, and everything else goes after that. And he's got both of them do a really intense focus on fitness. That's why both those sides have been the best defensive sides for the last few years, comfortably. So yeah, two different approaches, but also, I dare say through that definition, it's kind of similar as well. They know specifically what they want, and they will find a way to make it happen. Because, I mean, you think about it, okay, if Ivan Cleary was not that good a coach, he would have done everything to keep Luai at the club. But he's let him go, just like you let Crichton go, just like you let Burton go, to say, you know what, I'm confident I've got the humans with the skill set to replace them and keep us being successful. That's pretty impressive. So,
and there's something also with Cleary in that he has the ability to drive a team to literal extreme levels of fitness and dedication to the defensive task, which is really hard to get some players to buy into. But he has that ability to get them to buy in. And I think obviously he went forward premierships in a row, and the fact that he took the New Zealand Warriors to a grand final as well, which it's funny we forget that, on top of everything he's done. Ivan Cleary is canonized as one of the great coaches of all time. If he retired today, just because of what he's achieved, and obviously Bellamy is the same. And I think that when you get to that sort of level, if they switch clubs tomorrow, both clubs would be absolutely fine. If you took them and put them at other clubs, they would do the same thing at other clubs, and those clubs would get better. And it's I think that when you get to that sort of level of coaching, picking which one's better, it's doesn't matter at that point. I don't know if everyone else feels that way.
Well, I mean, as we've discussed here before, everyone else's opinion is irrelevant.
That's a good point. That is a really good point. We've said, we've refined our thoughts on that. Their opinions are shit.
That's the one.
But look, I would have said that Craig Bellamy's the best coach of all time, and by a bit up until recently. But then you look at what Cleary has done, which is almost mythical. And at that point, I'm just look, they're two friggin' amazing coaches. Their achievements speak for themselves. At this, I'm not picking which is the best, because they're both just that damn good. And I'm willing to say that they're both at that sort of level. And then you start talking about who fits in around them after that. You know,
Yeah, agreed. Benji Marshall's next.
Benji, and then Tommy Rodonicus.
Yeah.
Who else after that?
Wayne Pearce.
Piercy. I'd say a couple of steps back, and then you've got Matthew Elliott.
Would you have Matthew Elliott ahead of Terry Lamb?
Oh, no. No, I'd take Terry Lamb. You know what's fucked? You know what's absolutely fucked? I would take Matthew Elliott every day of the week ahead of Trent Barrett.
No, that's not fucked. I completely get that.
Every day of the week. His
Yeah.
record is so superior and it's terrible.
It's true. Now, I've done some mathematics.
Okay. When'd you start doing that?
Yesterday.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah. So I've gone through and decided, because everyone else has done it, I'm going to figure out who's got the toughest straw this year.
Okay.
Right. So, I know that everyone else does this, and they do it with a sense of wank, because they don't actually properly analyse the draw. They just go, oh, I've decided that my team's got it hard, so I'm going to run enough about how my team's got it worse.
Yeah. So, but you don't agree with my article that Penrith has the hardest one because they didn't allow them to play in Penrith all year?
Well, my statistical analysis has some grave concerns with your theory.
Okay, that's fine.
But no, upon looking a little bit into it, yeah, they do not play a single home game all year.
Yep,
bias. They're playing at the West Tigers home ground all year.
Yep, bias. It's all bias.
Yeah.
They're trying to stop us.
So that probably should have been taken into account, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically, I'm not going to get too bogged down in the maths, okay?
Yeah.
Basically, what I've done is I've given every team a number, and their number is based on their rank at the end of the year. The top 8 changed a little bit based on where the team finished in the finals race. So instead of Melbourne being 1, they're number 2. Penrith, instead of being 2, they're number 1. You get the gist. Mm-hmm. And then based on who you play, you add all of that up, and the number at the end is a final score. The lower that number, the harder your draw, because it means you played more teams with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, than ones that have got the bigger numbers down the end who are at the bottom of the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, simple.
Okay.
So just let you all know, the absolute most hardest draw you can get gives you a score of 172. And this year, the hardest draw goes to South, whose score is 187, that's pretty rough. South play 8 games against the top 4 sides. They're the only club to play all of the top 4 sides twice.
Mm-hmm.
They'll also play 13 games against the top 8 sides this year, which is more than any other team. Parramatta and the Sharks also play 13 games against top 8 sides. Next on the list is Parramatta with 199. And then everybody else is between 207 and 225, except for 2 other clubs. So through that list, I'll go through them quickly. Sharks and Tigers 207, Brisbane 211, Storm and the Roosters 213, Cowboys 214, Dragons 215, Titans 220, Bulldogs 222, Manly and the Dolphins 223, Penrith 225, Warriors 227, Newcastle 228, Canberra 238. So now just to let you know, the absolute easiest draw gives you a total score of 260.
Mm-hmm.
Canberra, wow. They play each of the top 4 sides just once.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors and Titans are the only other 2 teams that do that. Canberra, they play 10 games against the top 8 sides all year.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Now, we go a little bit further and we look into, I know the media was going on about how Canberra's got the worst start to a season or the hardest start to a season or whatever that wank was. I don't care. But when you get into the part of the season that matters the most, which is the second half of the season, they've got one of the kindest draws there, because from round 14 to round 24, they will have all 3 of their buys, 5 of their 8 games are at home. One other is at Campbelltown. Another one's in Wollongong, and the other one is in Newcastle. So they never, they're either in ACT or New South Wales the whole time. 3 of their opponents in that period are from the bottom 3 teams from 2024. They played the 11th place Dragons twice and the 8th place Knights twice, and the other game is against the 6th place Manly in Canberra.
I feel like Ricky Stewart will be angry that it's not easy enough.
I saw that and I went, wow, that is piss easy. When I was looking, the only thing I could find that would challenge that was the Knights' first 11 rounds, where they had to buy 6 games against the bottom 4 teams, 1 game against the top 4 side, and 1 other match against the top 8 side, with 5 games at home and 3 others in nearby Sydney.
Wow, they should get off to a flyer then.
Yeah.
And if they don't, it's going to be a rough season for them.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So yeah, it's I don't know. I don't buy the whole the distance we travel is somehow makes it harder. That might be valid if we were still using horse and cart to get around, because it'd take a while to get to North Queensland from Melbourne by a fucking horse. But you're sitting in a plane.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. I actually wrote an article saying that they had the easiest draw in the NRL because half of the games they play next year is in a city that no other team wants to go to.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Like everyone goes to that city and says, fuck, wish we weren't here. I wish we were back home.
Yeah. What was the other thing here? Who's the team that finished 8th? Was that the Bulldogs? Yeah. Bulldogs have 19 games next year in New South Wales.
Oh, that's handy for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And who was 7th? I can't remember. There's a few other teams that have got 18 games in the same state. Oh, yeah. The Roosters have got 17 in the same state.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the Knights that have got 19.
Okay.
The Knights have got 19 games in New South Wales. The Bulldogs have got 18 and the Roosters 17. So, the other thing I will say about that story about travel, because remember they did something about, was it last year, about the Panthers travel?
I can't remember, because like when it comes to stories about the draw being, like I just think over the course of the season it evens out.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Like that's the point.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The only way to do this is you have to take the name of the team out of it and assign it a number.
Yeah.
And do it with all of them. So you're just looking at numbers, and that way you can take all the bias out of it. Mm-hmm. But I think it was last year they're talking about how the Panthers had one of the softest draws because they didn't travel very many kilometres.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to just raise something about that. I might have done it then as well, but because Ricky Stewart's obviously chimed in on the whinge about Canberra having to do so much travel in the opening rounds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear the Warriors, the Storm, or the Cowboys complaining about how far they have to fucking travel, do you?
Like literally the Cowboys travel on a global scale pretty much every second week.
Yes. As do the Warriors.
Yeah. Like it's actually easier for the Warriors to get to Sydney by a long way than it is for the Cowboys.
That is true.
And so it's
and let's be honest,
hilarious.
Canberra is only it's not that far from Sydney either.
No.
So the majority of their games are going to be either, in the ACT or a short horse ride away, just down the road. So, Ricky, stop bitching about the draw, man. Seriously.
I think it was 300 kilometres from Sydney, or from Western Sydney to Canberra. So you think you do 100 kilometres an hour? My guess is they fly. I would be shocked if the Raiders aren't flying up to Sydney. But, if they're on the bus, it's 3 hours. You sit in the bus. Just Ricky Stewart will never be happy.
No.
And it's fantastic. I'm here for it.
But yeah, that's pretty much all the rugby league content that I've got available so far.
Excellent. Should we do No, we'll wait for the next episode. We'll do the King of Rugby League Awards for the next episode.
Yeah. We've been sitting on that one for a little bit.
Yeah. We'll make that the next episode.
Yes.
I think between then and now, they'll announce that an Englishman has won the Golden Boot.
Oh, the Golden Boot.
Yeah. I think that's been announced on December 1st.
Right. Did we go through the contestants for the Golden Boot in our unrecorded episode, or was that in the recorded one?
Because I told you the list. You didn't believe me when I said there's like 17 people they nominated, and then when I read them out, you're going, jeez.
I was moderately mortified at the names being read out.
Yeah.
Where is that list? I'm going to put you on the spot now.
I think I found it on the International Rugby League's terrible website. I think it was on there somewhere from memory. Oh, no, you know what? I think I saw it on the NRL website. I put in 2020.
There it is.
Yeah, you got them?
Oh, Fox Sports.
Okay.
Does it have them all here? No.
Check it to see if you put the search in Google.
Oh, no. Yeah, it does have me. Okay. I just had to go through all the garbage. Right. The men's 2024 International Rugby League Golden Boot nominees.
Short list, by the way.
Short list.
Yeah.
Just let you know how short it is. I do have to scroll on the mouse. All right. Herbie Farnworth, Aden Fanua-Blake, Harry Grant, Lachlan Lamb, Zach Lomax, Jerome Luai, Keanu Kinney, Nene McDonald, Eason Masters, Tani Milne, Homoli Olakawatu, Harry Smith, Jason Tormalolo, Tom Trebojevic, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, George Williams, and ICO.
Yeah, short list. It's so irrelevant. It's like everything else they do at the International Rugby League. It's irrelevant.
Look at the names of some of the first winners of the award. Wally Lewis, Brett Kenny, Gary Jack, Hugh McGahn, Peter Sterling, Ellery Hanley, Mal Meninga. Gary Schofield won it twice.
Well, he's bombed. He's bombed. And then,
well, after that, they didn't award it for 7 years. Andrew Johns, Brad Fittler, Stacey Jones, Darren Lockyer. Gets a little bit loopy. Andrew Farrell.
Yeah, that's when it went. That's when it died in the arse. Because you remember what happened where they somehow said it was Andrew Farrell. By the way, this is when they said, oh, no, it includes club football as well. So they gave it to Andrew Farrell. Andrew Farrell immediately switched to rugby union. Immediately.
Was that the time? I could get this wrong. Was this the one where he got knocked out in the grand final and kicked a goal, or was that Sinfield later on?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Remember one of them kind of got it just because of that sort of thing.
Oh, wasn't that the...
Was that Mackinson?
I think, wasn't that like a Challenge Cup where that happened and they gave him the player of the match for it?
I don't know. I thought one of them, they got the golden boot just because they got knocked out and kicked a goal or something.
Yeah.
I remember we were being rather flippant about it, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Anthony Minicello, Cameron Smith, Billy Slater, Greg Inglis, Benji Marshall, Jonathan Thurston. Been some pretty decent names in there.
And then?
Kevin Sinfield, Sean Johnson, Tommy Mackinson. Yeah, and now whatever they're going to do. If Yo doesn't get it this year, then it's going to be...
Well, look, it's this year they're saying that it's based on international footy only.
Oh, right.
And so if it was, say...
So that's the rule that wasn't in place in 2020 and 2021, despite the fact there was an international game played.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They change it. They change it as they need to change it. So, look, if it's, I would say between the players, I watched all the Test footy. I would say it would be between Yo, Taumalolo, Adam Fanua-Blake. But I think they're going to give it to Herbie Farnworth. I'm serious. You should have seen them going on about Herbie Farnworth.
Jesus Christ.
Mm.
And you go through that name of players and you put Herbie Farnworth in there.
Yeah. It's silly. It's fucking silly. Look, as soon as they gave it to Andy Farrell, it didn't matter anymore. That was it. They killed it.
They killed it. Killed it dead.
Killed it dead. And then they gave it to Sinfield. It's like, come on. Fucking
just to make sure you're still paying attention.
Yeah. And then when you'd be like, Sinfield's not even the best lock in Super League. How's he the best player in the world? And they'd be like, oh, you're just whinging Australians. It's like, no, any time. No, don't make me go down this fucking rabbit hole, Andrew. Don't make me do it.
I'm just sitting back and just letting you have the mic.
All I'm saying is that they really don't like it when there's any pushback against their stupid shit. They take it really personally when someone says, hey, that's some stupid shit. And they go, what are you talking about? It's like, no, you're being a stupid idiot right now. And they don't take that sort of criticism very well.
No, they don't.
They're literally blaming IMG for fucking Super League clubs going bust like it's a new phenomena.
Well, how can you be blaming IMG?
I don't know.
Is IMG going out there charging them a fee?
Oh, by the way, they're if I was IMG, I would go in and I'd say, listen, we had a good run, Rugby Football League. It's not you, it's me. I think we should go our separate ways. Because what the fuck is IMG going to get out of any of this? They're not going to earn $1.
No, I don't think they're after trying to earn $1. I think they're after trying to get complete ownership of it.
But what do you own? You don't own anything.
The broadcasting.
But broadcasting what? The tiny little fucking Northern England town comp?
Yeah. It's about adding as many feathers to the cap as possible. That IMG group, they're part owned by TKO, which is the mob that owns the UFC and the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just get content. We want to have it so that we've got content for every single fucking market in the world. No matter how big or small. So that's what they do.
Hey, speaking of which, DAZN might end up being the new owner of News Corporation's shares in Foxtel. Now, DAZN is a broadcaster, an online streaming broadcaster based in London. I wrote about this on my website.
Are they the ones that are the official broadcasters or something like that for the NBA?
No, I don't think so, no. The NBA has a bunch of official broadcasters.
Sorry, not broadcasters. They had some sort of official thing with the NBA. I'm sure they did.
I know they do a lot of boxing. And so they're looking to pick up Fox Sports. And if that happens, it would be good for the NRL because, number one, they need to hold on to the NRL broadcasting rights if they were going to invest in Foxtel. Because if the NRL walks away from Foxtel, their asset is just going to plummet in price. So they're going to have to pay through the nose for the NRL rights. But they also have a lot of links internationally through broadcasting, obviously. So it'd be good for the NRL's international broadcasting rights too if that happens. So keep an eye on that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I read that in the Australian Financial Review.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are you reading the Financial Review? Oh, I know. You're checking to make sure your place is still in there for the 100 richest men.
Yeah.
I take it the answer is yes.
Yep. I'm like I'm a few spaces, in terms of the richest people in the world, I'm a few spaces below Gina Reinhart.
But her money's fake anyway, so it doesn't count.
If you look at how much she's got and then how much I've got, there is a difference. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
but
it's not much though.
Yeah, it's currency. It's very complicated.
Yeah, well, if her currency was converted to peso and yours to, say, I don't know,
put it
US
this way,
dollars.
If you turned hers into ruble right now, which is not having a good day, if you read the Australian Financial Review, it's having a bad day, the ruble.
Yep. And yours is converted to Bitcoin?
Yep. If you turn mine into Bitcoin,
yeah,
I'm still below what she has. But it's all technical. I don't want to get into the technicalities. We're not here. We're a Formula One podcast. We're not a finance podcast.
That's right. We're above the board, like everything to do with Formula One.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, Johnny Herbert.
Yeah,
Johnny. We see when you're putting the fucking safety car out, putting the yellow flags out.
He's a sook.
I saw a thing. You know what I saw? I saw when I was reading up about the Salford situation, and fucking Potato had been linked to buying into the club.
No way.
Yeah, the fucking he's like the Lance Stroll of rugby league.
Oh boy, that is so true.
Yeah.
Oh man, one of the greatest things I ever saw in Formula One was Lance Stroll in a sand trap that he didn't need to be in.
It was fun. You were watching it live too, but we didn't know we were both watching. And when I fucking saw him driving towards the sand trap, I was like, hey, nah. Oh, he did.
oh my God.
He's the best. He's the best.
You've engaged reverse. You can come back now. You've got nothing but tarmac behind you. He goes forwards into the sand, the wet sand.
Well, yeah, while it's pissing down.
You're like, oh boy, that's a special one.
Yeah, he's like those idiots that take like supercars onto the sand, and then all of a sudden the tide's coming in and this car is just flattened out. It ain't going nowhere. It was a beautiful moment. I'll never forget it.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's hard to not laugh at that. He's something else. Yeah, what else has been going on?
That's about it that I can remember that's going on in rugby league. Hey, it's been a pretty quiet off season, which is good. Having said that, there'll probably be some atrocities over the next 48 hours. But for now, it's been a quiet off season, and it's been good. It's like we were talking the other day. It's good to. I know we've had a bit of a break from the podcast, but it's been cool to know that we're not missing too much either, and there wasn't some huge story that was going on that we hadn't talked about.
Yeah, and for the most part, like most of the time we were just sort of, oh, look, don't worry if we can't do a record. It's not like anyone's going to miss us, but now we know that that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll try and be a bit more regular, Jack. But I'll tell you what. My book is going to be a third edition is going to be published early next year.
Mm-hmm.
We are working on the fifth Rugby League Project annual. We're trying to get that done this year, which would be a nice change to constantly January, February the year after. So those two things are currently in the works. I am working on a second book. So that's pretty exciting, and trying to get that done as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's much else going on.
No. Well, we've got some ideas we've talked about. We won't say what they are, but we've got some things that we've talked about doing next year, and they're going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
We've also got we've recorded half of a gigantic history episode. I think we record it August or something like that.
Yes.
Like hours and hours of it, and we're halfway through, and we're like, okay, we'll do the other half tomorrow, and then we'll put it out on like the weekend, and we're just like things kept on coming up. So
Next thing you know, we're 3 days short of December.
Yeah. So we've got that, and yeah, there was some stuff we were talking about. We'll do over the next month or so. So it's good. We've got ideas coming up, even if the off season is pretty quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got plenty that we're working on. So we're not going anywhere. Sorry to say. You're stuck with us.
Yeah.
So fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
Jeez, that got a bit nasty.
Yeah. What the fuck, Andrew?
I channeled my inner league freak there for a second.
Oh, don't sound like that. Do you know I had somebody start texting me back like I text them during the week. And I've got to say it was kind of confronting. Like they were doing it friendly. And I started texting to them, and they texted me as me. And I was like, oh, shit, that's what I sound like, huh? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it really was intense. I was like, what the fuck do I say to that? Holy crap.
Yeah, it's pretty fiery. Every time we see, every time all of the people who you have phone numbers for and receive a text message from, we all kind of just curl up in the corner in the fetal position, or we dread it like the email you get saying that you got a notification from MyGov.
Yeah.
So, oh no.
Oh sweet, that'll be good news.
Yeah, that's never good news.
I can't wait until all of our listeners have to do facial recognition to listen to the podcast. Hey, it's going to be really good. I look forward to our new fucking overlords.
Yeah, on that, this doesn't count as social media, so the teenagers can still listen.
Oh, they'll blanket everything. They'll blanket everything. Apparently, they were going to have YouTube was going to be included, but then like Pornhub wasn't. And
Pornhub isn't social media, so that's.
But it's the same sort of thing. It's a video site where you can comment. I comment regularly on Pornhub. You got to say like.
I have those exact same lamps on my bedside table.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, where did they get them shoes from?
Yeah, where's that picture on the wall come from? I want one.
Yeah. Were they able to clean that rug off, or like did they have to replace it?
How did they get it on the roof? Yeah, things like that.
So,
speaking of saucy,
yeah.
Next year Super League Triple X.
Oh yeah.
Because they do what the NFL does. They use Roman numerals for every year. So next year is the 30th season of Super League.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's XXX.
XXX. You didn't send me any more memes.
Well, I only made one.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like busy doing other stuff.
I got when I posted that, I had somebody say like, "Why do you always go at Super League?" And I was like, "I don't." And they were like, "Why do you always talk about it?" I was like, "I don't." So people think I got something against Super League. I don't.
No, you love it just like you love the NRL or whatever it is.
I want it to prosper. I want it to be as big and as great as it can possibly be. It just isn't. It sucks. It's a real shame. I wish it wasn't the case. I really do. Yes. If I could change it from sucking so badly, from being a putrid competition, I would. And it pains me to say how bad it is.
Yeah, it's and that is because we do remember, a time when that English competition was pretty damn elite.
Yeah, the glory days.
Yeah.
Instead of the suckhole days that they've got now.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah. But I don't have anything against Super League. No. I want it to prosper.
Just the people.
No, the people are fine.
No, you got a people problem.
I've got nothing against the people. There's many fine Australians and Kiwis and Frenchmen and like all running around in Super League. Wonderful people.
Trying to paint him in the worst possible light so people can like me more. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to build up a profile for myself so I can go on a rampage and be an arsehole. People just go, oh, Freaky must have hacked his account.
You are like on the Titanic. You're Rose and you're letting Jack, not our Jack, but me as Jack, letting me just go off into the icy water so you can save yourself. You bastard.
That's right. That's it. I'm free. What about that bloke? Yeah, fuck him.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, now that the majority of the, your ailments and my work commitments, are kind of behind us.
Yep.
We've got a few things planned for the off season.
Yep.
So we're going to start being a little bit more regular with the old content.
Yep.
So, I guess, sorry. And, I mean, here we are. Do we say commiserations because we're back as well? How much do we downplay ourselves and how much do we give ourselves credit?
I think we're pretty fucking awesome. Hey, we won a podcasting award.
We did.
Yeah, we won the award on the YouTube podcast awards that are done by Rugby League History on YouTube.
Oh, yes. Is this the one we won a few years ago for best logo or something?
Best logo.
Yep, I love that.
Yep. We won for the longest podcast of the year.
Oh, which one was that?
I can't remember, but we won that, and I think it went for 3 hours or just under 3 hours.
Would that be the 1907 one?
I honestly don't remember. I've got no idea. But
I actually thought that one went longer, to be honest.
Yeah, we won. So
okay, I'm wondering now, like, given that we know that the next one
mm-hmm.
going to be a bit longer,
mm-hmm.
do we hold on? Can we leave it as it is now, or do we so that we win that same award next year?
Win it next year, yeah. We'll crush it next year if that's the one we put out.
Let's have a look. That one was 3 hours 20. That history episode.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone that voted, even though you didn't have to vote for that one. We just kind of did it. But another.
I mean that was just basically statistics that worked in our favour.
Yeah. We just held out longer than everyone else.
That's what we do.
Yep. It's all about stamina. That's what I say.
Yep.
I'll make you bored by the time it's done. Oh, shit. All right, wrap this stuff up. Wrap it up.
That's what she said.
Yep.
All right. Well, look, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We will be back very, very soon. We'll be back on a regular-ish, whatever that regular system is. Different to whatever this was. Very soon. Check us out on all the socials, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. There's probably others. And we'll catch us all next time.